So welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to class 6 in our 13 masterclass series. And this is one that if you follow me on LinkedIn, you will know I am particularly passionate about. And it's really about the importance of us learning to adopt AI if we're going to stay relevant and if we're going to build career resilience going forward. I probably don't need to talk too much about this, although it never ceases to amaze me how much I'm in an echo chamber. And a lot of people are still finding reasons to not apply the use of these tools in their day-to-day roles and in their day-to-day lives outside of work. And the reason why I think this is such a critical issue is the gap is widening very, very quickly between those who do use the tools to augment themselves and make themselves more effective and those who do not. And what we're going to talk about today is that's also going to significantly impact leaders in their careers because that gets noticed. So for those who aren't using the tools themselves and for those whose teams are resisting using those tools, they're effectively going to be more at risk when it comes to restructures and relevance in the future of the workplace. So let's get into how this applies to you yourselves, and I will talk a little bit through the exercise that goes alongside this masterclass as well. So first of all, the urgency. Almost 60% of HR leaders are expecting layoffs around AI. So that's around the use of those tools for automation, absolutely, but also the coordination layers around that automation. So this isn't just automating specific tasks, this is actually removing the need for entire teams, departments, everything else, if that outcome can be achieved in a very different way. So the use of AI is going to structurally change how we work, not simply automate some of the tasks and have us doing others. We tend to get very reductive and think about what about my job can be automated. This isn't purely about automation. This is also about coordination. So why would I even be needed if agents can go and do what I do and then correspond with other agents doing what other people do as well? There obviously will be the creation of new roles. And that's why it's also very critical that we're starting to think now about how do we use these tools? How do we get up to speed with the changes? And how do we create the capacity? Because the number one pushback or resistance I get from clients is I simply don't have the time to learn these new tools. However, ironically, by learning to use the tools, we create more capacity to then get more strategic about our use. So at some point, we have to get to that pinch point and we have to start embracing it. But very often there are different reasons, and that's the second part of the exercise that we do here is the real reasons why we're not adopting AI. In terms of business impact, over 86%, I think this is actually quite conservative, of organisations are expected to be impacted by 2030. I think as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, it's almost all, and we're seeing entire industries suddenly have massive stock price fluctuations as a result of the impact of some of the new tools coming out and the fact that actually there is no need now for some of that vertical integration in things like SaaS world. So it's very important that people are conscious of what's coming and what's changing and actually how they can adapt and become resilient career-wise in the future, because many of us intend to live and work for many, many more decades. So the first thing I would like you to do, and it's the first part of the exercise, is auditing our own skills. So the foundation of our career durability is how much transferable skill do we have? What we currently do and our current jobs may not exist in the future, but how can we be relevant and almost indispensable in future organizations, in whatever structure or organization that may be? So the first thing we do in the exercise is to prioritize a skills inventory. So what we can currently do, map the current capabilities against what AI can do. So in the first part of the exercise, the first part of the exercise for this masterclass is really mapping against what you do and what AI can do and seeing how you can leverage it for some of your skills and some of the tasks that you do. And as I said, the purpose for that is really not to make yourself feel redundant, but to create more capacity so that you can focus on the areas in which you really can add more strategic value and be more relevant. You also want to be seen to be quite visibly using these tools, ideally, not because you want people to think that your role is replaceable, but because you want to be seen as a leader who has their eye on the future and the automation component of that. The next part is to prioritize the AI synergies. So where are the human-based skills that AI cannot currently do that you can provide, and how can you start to enhance those and really bring those to the fore? And then finally, with the creative capacity that you've made, And then finally, with the capacity you've created, how can you demonstrate continuous upskilling? So staying abreast of what's happening in different industries, staying ahead of what's happening across all of the AI tools, and really understanding how that's going to unfold across your industry, your role for your team. What's the most critical thing right now? In terms of real life applications, automating the routine stuff we do, yes, it may take some learning upfront. And I think there's quite a bit of resistance around that because it means we do have to feel stupid. I know that certainly when we started to use these tools a couple of years ago, you'd go in, you'd try and use it, you'd get frustrated immediately because it couldn't do it. But they have evolved so much, and a great deal of it is actually our ability. So our ability to prompt, our ability to communicate, our willingness to go back and forth, and our curiosity. And we do need capacity for that. But learning these skills, even if AI were a bubble, and I very much doubt it is, but even if it were, learning these skills will make us better leaders and better managers regardless, because it means we're better at communicating. So automating the routine, actually learning the tools enough to do it. The tools can also be used to enhance our decision making. So many of us use them as a thinking partner. I often use them to survey my calls, obviously with client permission. We can also use it to enhance our decision making and our skills. So as an example, when I'm coaching with client permission, when the sessions are recorded, I will often play that back through an LLM, and I'll go back and forth about, well, what could I have done better? Where are my blind spots? What questions did I not ask that perhaps would have been helpful for the client? And it really helps us enhance our skills, whether that's decision making, whether that's saying, I want to see the completely contradictory view or opinion to my own. When we're prepping for presentations, whatever it may be, they can be massively, massively helpful because they are completely unbiased, objective. They can be hugely helpful because they are an objective partner and obviously no judgment. And then finally, piloting and iterating. So this goes back to the whole, it won't be perfect at once. If you're building tools in your team, if you're getting your team to use them, if you're using them yourselves, then it's not going to be perfect. And that's the whole mindset of growth mindset and developing that. And again, if you're seen to be leading that, that means that you'll also be seen to be someone who is willing to embrace strategic transformation in the future for your firm. So this is the final piece around effectively be visible and be proactive. So really show up as a leader who is willing to lead your organization into the future. This could be relevant whether you're in a very big company or a very small company, but you want to be seen as the person who is championing AI literacy. There is a huge amount of resistance. And the second part of the exercise talks a little bit about, or gets us to think about, what's the secondary benefit of me not embracing this? So what's the secondary benefit of me saying this is a bubble, it doesn't matter, it won't impact our work? It's normally that we can embrace the status quo, we can protect the status quo, and we don't have to change. Unfortunately, that change is coming, whether we like it or not. So be the person that is leading the pilot projects. Be the person that is helping your team upskill by creating more capacity and encouraging them to do it. And inspire them by role modeling that themselves as well. And all of this will help you build career resilience within your own organization. It will also help you build confidence because if you're putting yourself out there, it's like the Feynman technique. If we're going to teach other people, then we have to learn it ourselves. So within the exercise you're going to do, it's much more looking inwards than this presentation, which is a little bit more focused on the organization. And the first piece, as I said, is mapping your skills and mapping effectively what are the high impact and the low impact things that you're doing every day and where would you get the most benefit from automating. The second piece is about looking inside and understanding our own resistance. What does it really mean for us if we're to embrace these? And then the third and final piece is about building a 90-day plan of picking one tool, trying it out, tracking our goals, and making sure that we're really adopting that and seeing how we go when it comes to leveraging these new tools. And the third and final piece is mapping a 90-day plan where we commit to embracing one of these tools, leveraging it for those effectively the high impact or low impact. And the third and final piece is about building a 90-day plan to embrace at least one of these tools and really understand how that can be used to help automate what we currently do, how we can create capacity, and how it can be an excellent thought partner and help us lead the way into the future. This genuinely is going to... I know I'm particularly bullish on it, but I honestly believe this is going to transform the way we work faster than we think, and we're in a period of exponential change. So I really hope that you will embrace this exercise, adopt some of these tools, and take the time to feel like a learner again. Yes, it's frustrating, But in the world that's changing this quickly, those of us that are going to embrace these tools are going to have to be changing and learning all the time. So we may as well start now. Enjoy.